Welcome to the practice today. I will leave one sign with you before we even start, and I might come right up to the camera. This is a mudra. So if you would like to give it a shot, it's basically sticking up your index and middle finger, resting the thumb upon the fingernails of the remaining two, the little and the ring finger. This is how you would like to hold this mudra. Perhaps you can hold it in both of your hands, mainly done with the right hand. And it serves as a greeting and an introduction of our theme today. The Kartari Mudra has multiple versions of it, and we'll play with one very soon, where the hands are touched together and moving. But what this mudra and the theme is about cutting through, like scissors, those two fingers, through all the illusions of this material realm or Maya. We all have a lot of them, and perhaps it is wonderful to cut through those, especially that we already feel we don't need anymore. So for our props today, very minimal, a blanket, a block if you like, and let us start lying down on the back. If you like to have a bolster, that might be useful, especially for the first shape, but it's not essential. And as you lie down, perhaps landing the feet down first, leaving knees bent, adjusting yourself down onto the ground, and then perhaps letting the knees roll open if that is suitable, touching the soles of the feet together. However, this could be done with the bolster underneath the knees. You could also use a block if there's just one side that feels it needs a little bit of support, or you might even have two blocks by your side. I am kind of mentioning the props at this point because potentially you can hold this shape for quite some time, allowing you to find it restful rather than too engaging at this point. The feet, they might be further away from you, they could be a little bit closer in, depending on what your body is responding with. And then observing yourself as you have come to lie down here. Basically everything but our essence in this life is, in that sense, material. So it's the vehicle in which we live, our body. While we embrace this vehicle, appreciate it, and keep it healthy, you might still be aware of patterns that have manifested within the body that impact, for example, this shape right now. If there's any attachment to the shape or the outcome of this practice, and perhaps cutting through those as you release them, you might choose to surrender to the experience. We start this present moment. For the first practice, you could choose to rest the left hand upon your abdomen and place the right hand on top. With the next breath in, breathing more deeply, you're letting the belly rise into your hands, the hands sliding up together with your breath towards the lower ribs, and then all the way up towards the collarbone. The out-breath is rather soft and gentle, and your hands very lightly return to the abdomen. With the inhalation, the belly rises, the ribs, and then right up to the upper chest and collarbones together with your hands. And the same here, allowing your out-breath to be soft, releasing, and the hands to gently slide back down. Let's continue this way of breathing and moving. For the inhale towards the belly, the hands sliding up to the ribs and up to the collarbones as the breath comes along. And very gently, they slide back down towards the belly. Now you might like to continue this movement as well as the breath. And once the movement as well as breathing is more familiar, needs less attention, you might focus on the exhalation, on becoming heavier and heavier. So to release the weight of your body into the ground. You might then also focus on the inhalation and letting yourself be filled with lightness and light. While still on the exhalation, you become heavier, but perhaps also release darkness. The breath, the hands still moving upwards and gently downwards when you exhale. While you might bring light and lightness in on each inhalation to fill you with the gentleness of the exhalation, releasing heaviness and darkness. After your next exhalation, release the thoughts, the breath, and the arms. The arms might drop back down to the sides of the body. And you might begin now to move your mouth. Perhaps it's pursing lips, grinning, opening. And also adding a movement into the jaw at some stage. Oh, that might trigger a yawn. And perhaps with that movement, you notice that potentially there was still some tension holding on. And let your mouth either gently close or leave the lips slightly open. A choice to leave eyes closed, but you might also open them. And with the head remaining steady, rolling your eyes to one side, then to the center, over to the other, and to the center. You might repeat that once, rolling eyes to each side. When your eyes center again, you could then roll them once more to a side, but then start a circle with your eyes and perhaps repeat it a couple of times before you center the eyes, maybe even briefly close. They were open them again, turning the eyes to the other side and reversing the direction of the circle. So if you were circling downwards, now upwards. Repeating for altogether 3 rounds. And then centering again. Eyes were open, gently closing them. You might leave them closed, as you could now choose to turn your head to one side, leaving it heavily on the floor. Then bring it to the center and over to the other side to gain some movement into the neck. As you center the head again, repeat turning it to a side, but then perhaps holding it here. And you could tuck the chin down towards the shoulder before you might lift it a little bit upwards. Let the head come back more relaxed to that side. Then center it again. Turning head to the other side. Then here you might remain and tuck the chin down towards the shoulder before you could choose to raise it. Bring it back to a more neutral one on the side. And then to center. Let's take a full deep breath. Open the mouth if you wish and let the breath come out as a sigh. You might now allow to help your knees up if they're still out towards each side, placing your feet down onto the ground again. And before we get up, you could choose to place your fingers upon the temples and gently massage the temples there by the sides of your eyes. And from massaging, you might start tapping just across the forehead, then back down the sides of the temples, underneath your eyes, down the cheeks, and then all the way up and towards the chin. You might then take both hands flat, fingertips touching upon the forehead, and then sliding them slowly down the sides of your face, the side of the neck, all the way down towards the sternum. If this felt good, repeat it a couple more times. From where you might allow your arms to drop out to the sides, to soften the shoulders back to the floor. A gentle rolling of the knees from side to side might feel good. As you roll gently, you could also return to rolling of the head. Same or opposite sides with the knees. And then rolling to the side that feels most comfortable for you. placing the hand down in front to help you rise to a seated position. Now for this seat, I will grab a block. I will briefly turn myself sideways so you can see what I'm doing with the block. I will place that between my feet to sit upon. Now, if this is utterly uncomfortable for the knees, you can sit in any other shape or form. If it's possible to sit like this, please do. If you like, you could also have the block flatter if that is available for you. Now, the knees could be touching or be lightly apart. And we're placing the backs of the hands into the side of the waist. So the fingers are looking downwards by your side. On the breath in, lift your shoulders right up to your ears. And then focus on the doing of the shoulder blades as you squeeze them together and then downwards. And at that time, you're sliding your hands to slightly touch together, leaving your elbows bent. You might now interlace the hands behind your back, still leaving your elbows bent. And beginning from that place to raise the sternum, perhaps even the chin and the gaze, coming into a subtle back bend. A deep inhalation, and with the exhalation, starting to lean your belly forward, perhaps even all the way over the thighs. Your arms might now lengthen all the way down the back. If it feels comfortable, and only then, could you place the head down close to your knees. Take the next inhale to lift the hips up and roll to the top of the head. And some of you might even raise the arms away from the back. Sasangasana, rabbit pose. Slowly releasing your hips back onto your sitting support. And maybe the arms can drop all the way down so the shoulders relax into full child's pose or balasana. Feel free to support with your hands if required. A deep in-breath, an out-breath to uncurl the spine, returning to a seated position. Sliding the backs of the hands again into the sides of the waist. Leaving shoulders easy, we'll repeat. For the inhale, lifting the shoulders up. On the exhale, focus on the shoulder blades as they squeeze together. The hands are sliding to lightly touch. Now, if you choose to interlace, again, place the other fingers on top, leaving elbows bent again. For the inhale, raising sternum, perhaps the chin into a back bend. On an out breath, could you start to lower the belly to the thigh? The arms in the process might lengthen down the back. And the same choice here, of course, you could stay or bring the head close to the knees. Breathe in to lift the hips up, rolling to the top of the head. And perhaps lifting the arms away from the back. Landing again onto your support. Perhaps the arms rest by the sides, hands next to your feet. Shoulders become heavy if that's available. And out breath to uncurl, to sit. And the hands might briefly rest upon your thighs, how they feel. As you could lower your gaze or close your eyes. And focus on the experience within the body. What can you sense? We've already inverted. There's movement through the shoulders, releases within the face. As you might open your eyes, The hands might come down to the ground, lifting away from any sitting support, perhaps tucking the toes under and then lifting the knees off the floor, landing in a standing forward bend. Slow out by a light lift of Mula Bandha, pelvic floor, and just a little bit more as you begin to uncurl your spine into standing. Adjust the shoulders into mountain pose. The arms might be looking forward at this point. So come to stand, and if that is comfortable for you, front side end of the mat. I will still keep facing you for a little bit longer for demonstration. We will repeat this movement again, this time in a standing posture, backs of the hands to the sides of the waist, fingers looking down. And for the in-breath, lifting the shoulders. For the out-breath, draw the shoulder blades down and back, beginning to touch the hands, then perhaps interlacing the hands, leaving your elbows bent to your chin. But you breathe in to lift the sternum, perhaps your chin. Then bending your knees as you breathe out. The arms might slide down the back here, as the belly is your shelf on the side. And if available, could you lift your tail a little bit higher? Some might even raise their arms away from the back. Now the weight is sitting here forward within the feet, while the heels stay grounded. Releasing the hands down towards the ground. A breath in, you might slide your hands up or use fingertips against the floor, lengthening the spine forward, half lift. Now for the out breath, stepping back with your right foot. You might have the knee at the back on the ground, or if you would like to come with me, with softening into the legs, letting the upper body relax. And then on the out breath, uncurling the spine towards standing. Relaxing into the legs by lightly softening the knees. And an option to raise the arms up for a high lunge. Now, please don't mind one of my arms. If you're able to extend both shoulders as safe, please do. Now there is an option to come into Charlie's Angel's Mudra, where you interlace the fingers and let your index fingers stick out. You might from there start to extend the back leg and lean the spine forward. Now I've modified for my shoulder, my arms are lower. The arms for you could be lower too if required, or they might be all the way around the ears. Now this will be an arrowhead lunge. The back leg is fully extended, front knee remains bent, and the front hip is ever so slightly drawing back. You're standing perhaps more evenly on both of your feet. You might release even the mudra, touch the hands now towards the sternum or heart space. And if it is for you, let the weight come to the front leg, lifting the back leg off the floor while you flex the foot, finding a warrior three. As you might choose to hold here, extend from the top of the head right towards the sole of the foot behind you. The spine is long. And then come to step the feet next to each other, and releasing your arms to land back in a mountain shape. You could gently engage the inner heels toward each other, perhaps finding some steadiness in your gaze or even closing the eyes. As you reflect on the last few shapes, perhaps reactions that you're physically showing right now. What of that experience is kind and welcoming for yourself to be within this practice? And what would you like to cut out? Perhaps releasing all of these thoughts, approaching another moment in this phase now, sliding the backs of the hands again to the sides of your waist. With the inhale, raise your shoulders. With the exhale, bring the shoulder blades together, the hands to lightly touch. And the same here, your head and interlace, you repeat it, but the other fingers are in front, leaving your elbows bent. When you breathe in, perhaps to raise the sternum, the chin for a subtle standing back bend. On an out breath, bend your knees, let the belly release towards the thighs, while your arms might lengthen down the back. And if the forward fold occurs, you might even lift your arms away from the back. Perhaps the legs straighten a tad bit more. The weight again sitting forward towards the front of the foot. Releasing the hands back down. Fingertips may support as you breathe in for length of your spine, a half lift. And now taking a step back with the left foot. It's always on offer to have one knee down in the lunges. If you would like to come with me, bend both, surrender your upper body, and use an exhale to curl up to stand. You might then raise both of your arms and land with both knees bent in a lunge. If you practiced Charlie's Angels Mudra before, you might bring the hands back again, odd interlace, and touch the index fingers to look upwards. Then begin to straighten the back leg and align the torso, perhaps even with it. The same here, your arms could be as high as around your ears or lower to support any other shoulder concerns or alike. Your front hip gently draws back for a more even stance. Aiming here already for a line from the top of the head towards the heel. Your arrowhead lunge. You might release Charlie's Angels to Anjali Mudra, touching palms, and perhaps bringing that in front of the chest. The choice now is to lean to the front leg and perhaps lift the back foot off the floor. Now, if you do, please flex that foot strongly so the toes get turned down. If it's available, tilt as far as building a straight line like a T shape. Top of the head towards the sole of the foot. Warrior 3, Virabhadrasana 3. landing feet next to each other and releasing your arms. Find stillness, steadiness, perhaps steadying the gaze or closing the eyes. Again, inner heels might lightly be active. Reflecting again on the physical experience. How your mind was interacting. What you appreciate within this practice personally, not as in likes and dislikes, but your inner experience. And that you would like to cut out, that is not needed. Thoughts like balances aren't happening. I need to get better at. I really don't like. As you might open the eyes, relax your arms. You could turn now to the long side end of the mat and step your feet out very wide. Again, I am limited with that width. Your feet could be much wider apart. You could have the outer edges of your feet parallel. While I will skip this shrug, perhaps placing the hands this time into the sides of the waist, with the fingers looking forward. Now, as you breathe in, squeeze the shoulder blades nevertheless. Perhaps start again to raise your sternum and your gaze. Very similar sensation in the back. But then bend your knees. And perhaps if you can leave the hands there, the shoulder blades close, and start to fold forward on an out breath. Your challenge here will be that likely the shoulders are starting to come closer to the ears. Leave them away from the ears. Keep a squeeze between the shoulder blades. So your heart is leading your upper body to the space between your legs. Whether it's getting there or not, it is just an intention, a direction to move towards. If it's possible, let go of the head, but keep the shoulders aligned, the shoulder blades squeezing, and the same as in all forward bends, leave the weight rather to the front of the foot while your heel stays grounded. Now with your heart squeezing through between the legs, you might allow a few longer exhalations. Exhalations often a way to surrender. Same as we practiced at the very beginning. Surrendering heavy, dark. Let's release the hands down towards the floor. Turning your right toes to the short side end of the mat, the left heel out to the other. Perhaps the right forearm on top of your thigh. Maybe the left hand into the side of the waist. As you press the forearm down, there could be an in-breath where the top shoulder rolls open towards the side ankle pose. Keeping a sense of deep groundedness to the outer edge of your back foot. If your shoulders have freed up, there is an option to extend the upper arm over the head with the palm facing downwards. Emphasis here is on option. Shoulders staying back for the side angle pose. Then slowly roll your upper arm back down, releasing the hands back to the space between the feet and swiveling the feet around so that the left toes look to the short edge, the right heel to the other. And it might now be the left arm to rest on top of the thigh, with the right hand starting in the side of the waist, pressing down into the thigh bone as you begin to open the top shoulder, as if you're rising away from the ground. Same here. It is only an option to extend your right arm over the head of the hand, looking downwards. Sense of deep grounding to the outer edge of the back foot. Rolling your arms back down towards the mat, releasing the hands, and then releasing your knees down onto the ground. I will grab a blanket, as I often do for seated forward bends, and fold it. So I can sit a little bit elevated, but not too much. Just feel free to use other sitting supports here as well, as we bring the legs towards the front. Let your imagination be with you as you open both legs out to the side. I look one-sided for a good reason, but your legs might both be out wide. Now shuffle around so your sitting bones are comfortably supported. There's an option to have the knees bent or the legs long. I will press down into the ground while turning the toes up towards the ceiling. So our body is facing the middle of the legs. As you sit upright, let the shoulders soften down and get a tiny little activation between your shoulder blades. Staring at a solid spot while you breathe in. And with the out breath, finding your way forward. I personally like to sway, but some might like to just lean forward. Get movement coming forward from your hips, no matter how far you go. Mindful, especially in this pose, about your thoughts, while keeping the shoulder blades gently down and ever so slightly closer, using from here your out breath to deepen the shape. If you prefer to gently keep swaying, this is also an option. But perhaps despite potential movement, allowing yourself to remain in this very moment. There could be potential images of you having done this pose before. Again, expectations that there might be. Let yourself be within this moment and the experience itself. For your next breath, only come a little bit out and lengthen the spine again. And then either walk the hands back or rise to a seat in any other shape or form. You might keep this sitting support. If you like to sit a little bit higher, that's fine too. So you might use the bolster or the block. You bring your legs in and choose a comfortable seated position. You might as well sit towards your heels if that was comfortable at the beginning, or you could choose an easy pose. We'll move from asana into pranayama, so from the posture into a breathing technique before we return back to the postures. So let's align our posture. Notice whether you're leaning forward or backwards. And see if you can find the center point. but the spine can be long. Your hands could rest down. Or if you would really like to get into the humming practice of Brahmari, the bee breath, you could use your thumbs in front of your ears to close them, on both hands, of course. You could close your eyes with the middle and index, and your lips, you might squeeze them closed with the other two fingers. I might show that a little bit closer to the camera so it makes sense. As you might close, I will try and speak loud enough for you to be able to hear, even with this hand gesture being on. Let's start the humming breath. It's an inhalation and then the humming out for as long as possible, just stopping before we have to gasp for air, and then continuing on. And I would love for you to just continue on the humming without waiting for anybody else. So with or without the mudra, let's begin. Take a breath in. Slowly releasing the humming, the hands, taking time to observe. You could gently open the eyes again and remove yourself from the seated position, the props. I will use the block to lie down over for a fish pose. You can have the block lying flat like this and aligning it between the shoulder blades. If dropping the head back to the floor isn't yours and you've got a second block, you place that underneath the head, or you might use your folded blanket for it. There's also the option of aligning the block in a halfway up if you feel this is suitable for you, and still place it between the shoulder blades. So the lower end of the block sits roughly there around the lower ribs. As you might come over this block onto your back, in the process of lying down, it is quite possible to align that with your hands behind you. So once the block sits in place, you might add the support of the head. You could leave your knees bent and the feet upon the floor. If it's possible, let your arms come out. And if the block is flat, you might hug the block with the shoulder blades. There's quite some awareness in that space today anyway. If you feel your lower back is happy, you might try to extend the legs, but keep them active as you keep them close to touch and point out through the toes. You might even add the mudra that I was showing at the beginning of the practice, sticking index and middle finger out and leaving your thumb resting upon the fingernails of little and ring finger. Two extended fingers lightly parted. Notice if you're very comfortable here and have chosen to close your eyes, or if you enjoy the view that could slightly be upside down with eyes open. You might now relax the mudra if you've chosen. The long legs if they were engaged. If legs are out long, perhaps bending the knees again, placing the feet onto the ground. And to release from this shape, there's the option of rolling to the side. If this is for you, I will slide my hands a bit underneath the buttocks and squeeze my elbows to the side to lift the head, tuck the chin in, and then take myself straight up without a twist in the spine. Now I will take the block and place that to the side. If you do have a wall here nearby, you might as well stay on the wall. If not, please stay on the mat. I will guide you through. So if you have the wall right by your side, you might sit sort of with the side of the hip and swing your legs up the wall. If you are joining me on the mat, return to your back, feet onto the ground. And as we've done so many times, perhaps lifting the hips up and placing your block flat or halfway up underneath your sacrum. This is to raise the feet off the ground, just like those against the wall, and extend the legs softly towards the ceiling. If you're comfortable and feel secure on the block, you can release the block and rest your arms. And you might choose for a little while to engage into the feet. This could be an extension of the legs and the soles of the feet upwards. It could be the toes pointing upwards. Or it might be to flaunt as you keep the feet pointed, push the balls of the feet up and draw the toes backwards. If the stillness or the hold takes you out of the practice mentally, you might leave eyes open and focus on your toes. There might be a time when it's engagement through ankles and feet. gets a little bit shaky. If that is the case for you, or simply you feel to relax, soften the feet, the ankles, as well as lightly to the knees. Then perhaps bending the knees softly back in towards your chest. If you were, legs up the wall, rolling to your favorite side, or landing your feet down onto the ground, lifting the hips to remove the block, and gently rolling your spine down. Perhaps you would pause here. Pause in a new form. If you encounter any tension or discomfort, you might move slightly to move towards comfort. You could then support yourself fully, perhaps even with the bolster underneath the knees, maybe with a blanket on top of you. Some of you might even have eye bags that you could place upon your closed eyes. If closing the eyes feels uncomfortable, please look at a solid point against the ceiling as you approach Shavasana or your rest. Ideally, the body will drift into the background, a letting go of the physical existence. To do so, it might be lovely to have the arms out of touch, the legs apart from each other. There is, for a while, still quite a lot of sensations that might catch your attention related to the physical body. But once these sensations fade, you might be able to shift your focus back into this very moment. You might feel that your breath is still moving. While that is a physical feature, it's also related to our life force and energy. And while you might keep this breath rather gentle, you could feel it ever so slightly expanding into the four directions. And even further, as this breath might move north, south, east, west, right there in the middle, up, down. Fear, arising from your heart. You might allow this fear to be present with your inhalation. The exhalations could be used to release into calm. The heart, the origin. Perhaps now settling your awareness into the space you created around your heart center. As today's suggestion is, wander where there is no path. There's no time like the present to get lost. Realize that a task has many expressions. Exploring creativity, indulging intuition, pursuing a relationship. You might choose one and get lost on that pathless path today. Lao Tzu puts it this way: do not seek fame, do not make plans, do not be absorbed by activities, do not think that you know. Be aware of all that is and dwell in the infinite. Be all that heaven gave you, but act as though you have received nothing. If this resonated, you might turn it into an intention for today. Then, if available, return once more to the space within the heart region that you created. And know that you could return to this space before you embark on this pathless path suggested. Then gently begin to return to the physical existence as you breathe more deeply, allowing the mind to notice the body again as it's restful. And then maybe even starting some movement. Perhaps enough to guide you towards a seated position, whether that's over the side or over the front. Where you could join the palms of the hands in front of the heart space. Lower gaze or close the eyes. The thumbs are touching the sternum. You might once more be reminded of this beautiful space within. As from that space, we extend with a bow toward each other. Namaste.